So I thought I might do a video on how I've been going, what's happening and all that sort of stuff, and I thought what a better location than a graveyard, which was just near where I live, so it's just a 5-minute walk down. I thought I'd just sit down here. It's a little bit windy today. I'm next to a willow tree. I thought it might give me a little bit of cover, but there might be a bit of ambient noise from that. It's fun. It adds to the eeriness of the graveyard. There's a fly. It's been about 8 weeks now since I stopped streaming, and I've moved and settled in with my partner. It's been great. I'm really enjoying it. And there are a few topics I wanted to talk about that came up before I was deciding to leave and around the time I was going to leave, and it's really interesting how things fell into place. But I wanted to take some time first before I discuss them with everyone. And the biggest thing really was right before I met my partner, or I've known my partner for many years. We just decided to make a go of things. We reconnected, so that's really good. But before we did that reconnection, I've been working in childcare for the last 12 months, and we had some children there that were difficult, to say the least. But I wanted to know, what's the best way for me to interact with these children and help them on their journey? And one of my co-workers said, up there on the shelf there's a book, have a read of that one, and you might find some information there. So that's what I did. I sat down in my lunch breaks and I'd read 5 or 10 minutes during my lunch breaks and had a read. And probably 6 or 7 days in, I read a paragraph and I saw myself there in the paragraph, and I was like, wow. And there was another co-worker in the room, and I said, I read the paragraph to them. I said, this paragraph explains me. And she said to me, well, I always thought you were on the spectrum. Didn't say anything. It's not my place. And I was like, oh, okay. And just sort of left it at that. And I don't know, that weekend I was lying on the couch and watching some YouTube videos on my phone, and then there's a suggested YouTube video. Are you autistic? 15 top signs to tell if you're autistic. And after sort of watching that video, I was like, wow, I've ticked like 10 of those boxes. So I mean, that's the basis of what I'm trying to say here, is that I, at that point, sort of realised I must have been autistic. And I tried not to over investigate, but I spent quite some time watching a lot of other videos on autism and understanding it from people that had some good information there. And I really was like, wow, you know what, I must be autistic. It feels like it. I let myself absorb the information over a few days, though. I just didn't jump in and go, oh, that's it. And around that time, and this is a really interesting thing, the week prior I went to the doctor. I'd made a doctor's appointment 2 months prior. It took me 2 months to get to the doctor. Living in a country town, it was hard to get a doctor's appointment to go and see the doctor, because I was feeling depressed, and it had been going on for at least 12 months, and I really wanted to look into what I need. I've had it before, it's back, it seems to be back again. I know the signs, so I want to look into it some more and find out what are the best ways what can I do? How can I shake this feeling I have, and I didn't have much motivation at all. So we spoke to the doctor, and she gave me a form to fill out, and that would do a rating. And she said, we'll have an appointment in 2 weeks' time, and we'll go through a proper assessment. We'll do all the paperwork, and then she can refer me to a psychologist or psychiatrist, I can never remember which one, to start working on it and see if medication's needed and all those things. In that 2 weeks was when I found out that I thought I was autistic or self-diagnosed. And then so when I saw the doctor next, I said to her I'd also like to look into this. So she gave me 2 referrals, one to a psychologist, one to a psychiatrist, one to help with depression and one to help with the autism, to get a proper autistic diagnosis. So that was good. I felt, interestingly, I did feel like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And through this whole journey, for that first 2 weeks of understanding that, yes, I am autistic, I just look back at all these things like that just fell into place. It's like, that's why I responded to that person in that situation like that, and this is why I do that, and all these sorts of things. And in particular, and it was good because in that time frame of seeing the doctor, between the doctor, that 2 week time period, I saw them, I did the self-diagnosis, and there was a online test I did it's a common test that's used by the medical profession. It's a bit outdated now, and I went through and did the test, and I got a score that was right in that butter zone of you most likely are autistic. And you might say to me, well, you seem to function pretty well. You stream, you talk to lots of people, you deal with things, you can do all that sort of stuff. I just realised I was okay at coping with these things. And also, if you don't know about autism, I get it. And it's getting really windy right now, so I'm just going to hold on a sec here, just to die down. It might even rain. I saw some drops of rain. But autism isn't like a scale of 1 to 10 where you're slightly autistic and you're heavily autistic. It's like a circle, and in the circle there are different traits, different things, and you could be a little bit of this one, a little bit of that one, a little bit of that, and do this. You're all autistic. It's just varying degrees of autism, and for me, I am what I would call a low maintenance autistic person. I can function quite well in the world, but there are things with me that really give me troubles. And that kind of gets to why I stopped streaming in the end. And I realised, why did I start streaming was a good question. I think I should go back to that. I was working in IT, working remotely for a US company, and at the time I just wasn't feeling, maybe I wasn't feeling valued, or I was like, in autism you have special interests, and that IT job I was doing, I had a high interest in it. I was really invested into it mentally. I really enjoyed that type of work, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I had these aspirations that I would make it, and I would also, like I'd be not rich but successful, and it would lead me on to bigger and better things. But I wasn't getting that traction I wanted. Working remotely for a US company, it was interesting in that sense because you had to self-manage yourself and all that sort of things. So I lost interest in that job. I was doing about 20 hours a week, and outside of that, and I even remember back then I was a little bit depressed, and I was trying to do things to circumvent that. And one of the things I did do was I was playing a lot of PUBG online on the Xbox. I love PUBG. And that's when I started streaming, and there's a whole other story about it. But I got into streaming with PUBG. But I was just doing this in my spare time when I wasn't working. And it kept me, I enjoyed it, and I could do it for as long as I wanted, because the only responsibility I had was my dog. I earned enough money to live comfortably. And and then I got involved into streaming. Like I was doing some basic streaming, and I really started to invest in equipment and like a streaming PC set up and all that stuff, so I could actually stream better and do overlays and cameras and my heart rate monitor in PUBG and all those sorts of things. And then eventually I got into playing Satisfactory. One of the PUBG streamers was playing Satisfactory with their friend on the early access release weekend or something like that, and I remember watching it and I really thought, this is cool, I'd like to stream that. And that's when I got into PC streaming, and I got into Satisfactory and I played it for a good 3 or 4 months. This is like when it was first released, and then I sort of got a bit bored with it, so I think even I got to the point where I stopped at the end of update 1. I went and did some other games, and I think Star Citizen was one, Battle State games, Escape from Tarkov was another one, and then one or two others, and then I came back to Satisfactory, just trying it again. Like, I didn't enjoy the train. Update 2 came out and I tried the trains update and I wasn't enjoying it. There was something that wasn't right, and there were some things, really buggy things in the early access, the release of trains when they first came out. And I remember it's like, it's not working how I wanted it, so I left it and I'm just going to go and I did other things. And then I came back to it and started fresh. And when I started playing fresh, I was having a really good time with that playthrough. And that's when a lot of things started taking off with me. With Satisfactory, I was streaming it very frequently. I was having sometimes 12-hour streams daily, just because that's what I wanted to do. The whole point of that long story was, I entered into another specialty area. Satisfactory became a specialty area. And as you can see now, it's raining a little bit. And there's a water drop right here on the screen. So I'm just going to see if I can fix that. Okay, so there we go. Dot's fixed. I'll have to do it again, I doubt it. There's like a grey cloud above me, and there's blue over there. So I don't know. Anyway, but this is the point of everything I'm getting into, is this, and I only realise it now looking back at it, that I got comfortable with Satisfactory. I knew at the time, update 2, I really got into knowing a lot about the game, and I was playing it a lot, and we're having a lot of fun playing it. And that became my special interest area. And so that's why I was getting into Satisfactory quite a bit. I was enjoying streaming it. Maybe I only had 10 people watching me for quite a long time, but it slowly grew and it slowly got more and more. And one of the things that happened was, I also thought about my other IT career and that I wasn't enjoying it. What am I going to do? I want to get another job. But the town that I lived in, I wouldn't be able to get that same type of job. I didn't want to go back to helping people day to day. So that's when I decided I looked for another career. And that's when I did my transition to childcare. And so I did the childcare. I looked it up. I could get a course in childcare, which would allow me to work at a childcare centre for those up to 5-year-old children. And it was going to take 12 months. So I thought, great. 12 months, I'll work still keep doing my 20 hours a week at my IT job. I'll study, I'll do the part-time study, we'll get it all done. Beautiful. 2020, that's when it's going to happen. Started doing it 2020, and then wow, this pandemic hit. COVID hit, and just as I was about to start doing the work placement component of it, all of that was put on hold. We did all of the educational material for that year. So it wasn't until the beginning of 2021 that I was able to get certified and do my work placement. But I decided when COVID hit, I thought, you know what? There's going to be a lot of people at home needing entertainment. I'm going to try my hand at full-time streaming. I thought this is one of these things where I know I would look back in my life on my deathbed and go, there was an opportunity there. I wish I really gave it a go. And I didn't. So I did. I said, you know what? I quit the IT job. I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore, and I had savings. I was going to live on those savings for the next couple of years, and I'm going to see if I can make it as a full-time streamer and go from there. So that went really well. I was enjoying it. went on and on and on, and I was successful in a sense that I was very successful at Satisfactory. I was able to get Twitch partner status, which wasn't easy, and it wasn't something I pushed for either. Like if you watch the Twitch communities, you'll see when someone's working towards partner, there can be a real drive towards it. I was just like, well, I'm just going to sit and apply myself. I'm not going to do a real obvious partner push. I'm just going to just be as best as I can. I invested in creating the Satisfactory Guru website. I just did things to make what I could do to become better. And it was great. However, obviously, after 6,000 hours of playing Satisfactory, I was starting to get a bit bored. And I started trying out some other games and doing some other things. And that's when streaming wasn't fun anymore. I was trying some survival games. I enjoyed the survival games, but every time I tried a new game, I would get anxiety leading up to playing the game. And I acknowledged this, I knew it was happening, but I didn't know why it was happening. Because I'd have to learn new keybinds, I didn't know if I'd like the game or not. You're dealing with backseaters, all those sorts of things that happen. You don't, now that I know that I'm autistic, I look back and go, wow, there's all those triggers. And there were other components of streaming, the money generation component, coming up with ideas to get people to spend bits or to subscribe or to, generally wanted to keep watching you and donate to you and whatever I needed to get income. I really didn't enjoy that part of streaming. So I did realise at a point that, you know what, I'm not going to be a full-time streamer. I'm not going to be that person. It's just, I've acknowledged it. But this was before I knew I was autistic. So that's when I decided to go back to part-time streaming. And I thought, this may help me. I may get back to enjoying streaming more, and it may be a better thing. And so then I continued to work and I continued to stream. And it was good, but I still knew I wasn't overly happy with myself in terms of depression. I knew there was depression there at some level. So then but I just still didn't know. I was thinking about stopping streaming. I didn't know if I wanted to or what. I didn't know how to go about it. There were still things I wanted to do, and then I met my partner. We reconnected, and before long, we realised that if we were going to make this work, we're going to have to live together, and we're not going to living 5.5 hours apart isn't going to cut it. And I said, look, I'll move to be with you. There's no point beating around the bush. So we worked out that in 3 months' time I would move, and I did all the things I needed to do, which meant I decided when I moved I wasn't going to continue streaming. And I thought I would, and at that point I thought, you know what, I need to give my community a warning that it's going to happen. I remember I gave us 5 weeks and said, hey, I'm not going to stream. I'm going to move. I want to focus with my partner, and we'll go from there. And I don't know when I'll come back to streaming, how long it'll be. And then there was that getting towards that build up. That last 5 weeks was a real drag for me. It really took a long time for it to happen. I'm glad it happened, and there were some really good moments that I got to spend with the community, especially on our sub Sundays, spending time together, also playing some really good games and just enjoying. And when I stopped, that first week after I stopped, it was a little bit different because I wasn't having that routine, and routines is something that I really like with my autism. That's how I function. However, not having to always be there in time to start the streaming button and go live, really, I really noticed how much I enjoyed that. And then through this time period, I was also seeing a psychologist, or the psychiatrist, whichever one that helped me with depression. And that was just every 2 weeks talking sessions. And I realized near the end of that, and just before I moved, that streaming was really the thing that got me depressed. It kept me in this locked state of not wanting to do things. Like after that first week of not streaming, all of these little jobs I kept putting off because I was already focused too much on streaming or whatever. I got so many things done around, like I redid the deck, put a new coat of oil on the deck outside. Even though I was moving, I wanted to be clean. I mowed the lawns. It took 6 hours, and then the next weekend I sprayed them all. And then I spider sprayed the whole place. And all these things that are normal things that I could do, I hadn't been doing because I was so demotivated from what the streaming was, that there was this... felt like I was held back because I was committed to streaming, which meant I was always going to be ready to turn up at the time when I started the stream and prepare for it and all those things. But that really, my whole other life got put on hold. So that really leads me into, what am I going to do moving forward? Am I going to return to streaming? At the moment, I don't think so. But there's still a lot of things I want to do content creation wise, and I really think I might continue doing some YouTube videos. I still haven't properly got my setup finished yet in my new place because of issues. I've only been here for 2 weeks and I need to go home and do another trip to bring more goods back. But I have these ideas that I think, because I'm autistic, and I know because I'm autistic, live streaming just isn't something that works well for me. It works well when I am in control, and that being in control is playing Satisfactory. However, I got bored of Satisfactory. That's not to say that I'm not going to make more Satisfactory content. It just means, right, at that point in time and now, I'm not going to commit just streaming to be just Satisfactory. But definitely where I can create YouTube videos at my own pace, where I can put them together, means that I feel in control, and I can produce what I think now. I think I can make an even more polished product than what I did previously, because previously a lot of what I did was half streaming and then pushed across into YouTube videos, and I think I can do some really nice YouTube videos. I don't think I'll ever be a big YouTube success, but I think I still enjoy it, and I would like to have a complete Satisfactory Guru website with the final release, and I've got time to do that, and there's no rush. So that's where it's at. And so unfortunately, for those who may be holding out for me to come back to streaming, I don't think it's going to happen. And on the topic of understanding my diagnosis of autism, I love it. It's great. It explains so much. It doesn't change me, but I understand why I do things. I understand why I react to situations, and I can understand how I feel in environments. I went to PAX the other week, and I was fine going in. I walked into the hall, I was inside for 5 minutes, and I started breaking out into a sweat. I could feel just all this noise and everything going on, and I never knew that's what it was. It's just, and I stopped and took a breath, had a drink, all those things, and I calmed down and I felt good. But I realised it just wasn't for me. That environment, that area, that's another trigger for me. But I was able to put a label to it, and I'm someone that hates categorising things, but knowing what made me feel that way really felt good about that whole situation. So I'm really happy that I know that I'm autistic. Diagnosed at the age of 44. I really wish I knew earlier. The earliest probably it could have been diagnosed was 10 years ago when I had my first bout of depression. Unfortunately, the psychologist or psychiatrist, I can't remember which one, at the time didn't pick up on it. I get it. You've got to be trained in these things. And I had no inkling of it, and no one told it to me. But if I'd known earlier, maybe some of my life decisions would have been different, but you can't look back and that sort of stuff. It is what it is. moving forward, I know exactly how my life is, and I know how I interact with the world now, and it's going to make me enjoy life more. Randy's doing well, he's settling in, he's having a great time. I'm going to post some videos of him at some point. But I think that's it for now. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll chat later. Bye.